What's going on, y'all? Peace, light, and love. And thank you so much for connecting with me today. I am Priestess Shakesha Divine, and this is no doubt the Pretty Priestess podcast. And I definitely want to thank you guys for just connecting with me today on this most auspicious day. It's a one day. So this is really a day about new beginnings, hitting that reset button, right? But this is right before the new moon, right? The new moon is going down on the 4th along with this Mercury retrograde, which is giving us this opportunity to really sit and think about the direction that we're trying to go in, right? And so I definitely want to make sure I check in. If we have not gotten this shadow navigation for the spiritual gangster, this is definitely a move to make, right? See, this is not one of those books. It's not a novel where you sitting there and you reading a whole bunch of books and you know, or a whole bunch of words and a whole bunch of my thoughts and how I process this world and all of this. Not my philosophy at all, right? This is all the work that really gets right to the meat of the situation, right? We getting right to business on this particular situation right here. So what we do is we kind of talk a little bit about what this shadow navigation is and it is not. We get ourselves in line with our values. We got to check in on that every once in a while because they change. You know, seasons change, people change, feelings change. And so for that reason, it's always a good idea to check in on where your values are at, right? Because this is really going to help us in setting that North Star, the states you want to be in the most of the time and the ones that you don't, like not so much at all. Some more questions that's just really priming our minds to dive a little bit deeper, right? Really getting ourselves in this space that's really going to assist us in navigating more deep and thoughtful questions to bring to ourselves so that we can get the healing that we need, right? And then with that, we're going to have 28 days after that whole process, a shadow navigation. Now, the shadow navigation is when it get gangster, right? Because this is working right with the subconscious mind. We're going to prime that mind. Now, this is a time right before you go to bed. Oh, baby, that is the key time right there where you can go ahead and set those intentions and really begin asking yourself some serious questions that's really going to help you to connect to the star player within yourself, right? And how you do that is by just right before you go to bed, set that intention and everything. You go about doing that. And what happens with that is that the subconscious mind, it picks that up, right? Because it's going to work for you or against you. Might as well go on and let it work for you, right? And so in doing that, you're going to allow your mind to help you in finding those solutions, those resolutions, those answers that we need to help us to heal and move forward. And when you begin setting those intentions, you get an opportunity to reflect on that, right? Any of the dreams that you may have had, they may or may not have anything to do with the question that you asked your mind. But rest assured, that subconscious mind is on the job. There is no right or wrong way to go about doing this. So when you start really reflecting on that question and everything, perhaps it's somewhere stored in the back, but this is your opportunity, right? When you wake up to figure, you know, to write some things out, write some thoughts down, to reflect a little bit more, see if you got a little bit more insight. If not, check back in because you're still working all of that out. And it's an auspicious time to be a gangster out here in these streets. And so today I really want to talk about auspiciousness. And this is really about getting us in alignment for our assignment. We have so many transits that are going on. It is so like the divine is giving us this alley oop so that we can really live more authentically, more auspiciously. And I am going to check in and make sure that we are truly in alignment so that we can really connect to the things that we want within our life. Now, we ain't running around all resentful and shit like that out here in these streets, mistreating people and shit, because hurt people hurt people. And so when you out here dogging folks out and you ain't got no sympathy and there's ice in your fucking heart chakra, right? This is all directly because you have some healing to do, fam. And I need you to recognize this. And so if we want to be the most auspicious version of ourselves and attract auspicious people and experiences, right? The secret, the keys to getting more out of life. Are we about to figure all of this out, right? And so this is going to be determined by our standards, right? Because you set them, my love, you do. And if you are unsatisfied with your standards, then you better fucking reevaluate them. It is definitely time to get this work. Okay. See, if you don't like that now, you ain't got to run around dogging folks out. You just reevaluate your standards, right? Raise the standards of yourself, first of all, because it starts with you and how you show up and how you present yourself. It matters. So let's think about how you come off. See, this is a conversation I had to have with myself, right? I've been evaluating that and kind of reviewing like how I came off. I decided I'm okay with me. You know what I'm saying? And I may come off too strong, but I do realize that I'm probably not everybody's cup of tea because I'm coming from the right place. So that's all that matters with me. So that's where my conversation is. But what's your conversation style, right? How you moving out here in these streets, right? Are you doing this shit from a heart space place, or are you just doing shit out here because that's what's hot in the street? You got to ask yourself these questions, right? So, one thing you got to recognize is that if you respect yourself, at the end of the day, it don't matter what nobody else is thinking. If you respect yourself, other folks will respect you. Just had to quote some Confucius real quick. You know what I'm saying? That's a Confucius quote. That ain't no caseism, no doubt. But how do you do that? You know, see, that's the thing where people get caught up in, right? This is the slip, trip, and fall right here. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to tell you how you can do this. You go about doing that by doing your best. See, most folks out here in these streets, they doing the bare minimum. I started realizing that. See, I used to think that folks is out here putting it down, working hard, being about that business, about that life. You know what I'm saying? But I do realize most people do a bare minimum. So you got to set yourself apart from the rest of them and put the work in and stop looking. See, and that's the other thing too. Stop looking to other folks at the end of the day, right? Because see, what ends up happening when we start doing shit, doing just the bare minimum and everything, right? We're not putting that work in, and then we start looking for props when they ain't due, and that's just no good. You got to do the fucking work, fam. There's no getting around it. So, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, you got to be in this space where you are firm on your square, right? Developing this energy of self sufficiency, right? And when you self sufficient, you ain't got to run around telling that nigga, I don't need your help. I'm good by myself. I don't need nobody. That ain't the way we trying to really do that. Because see, when you got that self sufficiency, that self sufficient energy, that ain't even to be said out loud, right? Because it speaks in your energy, right? What it looks like is being able to do shit all alone, solo dolo, if that's what you got to do, right? You ain't begging people or needing favors all the time. You know what I'm saying? You ever hate them Felicia ass energies? It's always begging somebody, asking for favors and shit like that. See, I used to think at one point in my life that I could ask folks for small favors and shit like that. Then you started realizing, the more you start recognizing and reading in people's energy and everything, people don't necessarily always want to do favors. You need to pay attention to that, because sometimes you need people's help and they don't want to help you. This is really letting you know where they stand in your life, right? But I'm talking about being Felicia, right? Asking for favors all of the time, right? Begging and shit like that. We ain't trying to be here for all of that, right? But see, what I'm talking about, it's not about like not accepting help and you being helpless and you running around begging and shit like that, counting on folks to come through, right? This is about having an internal locus of control, right? And this means that the control over your life is internal. You are the one at the commander's seat. That's what that means, as opposed to an external locus of control where you need somebody come and save that ass. This right here, I assure you, is a way that's going to have you in spaces you don't want to be in. Now, what I am saying is that it's important that we know the difference, right? From where we're being that person that's that clingy, codependent type of energy, right? I'm talking about receiving your blessings when they arrive, right? So if you're offered assistance, like when you need it, make sure that you receive your blessing, right? Like if somebody, you need somebody to come through for you, and you call them up, you know what I'm saying, and they come through for you, that's a beautiful thing, right? Or if you really struggling with something and you don't want to ask for help, but somebody stop through and say, hey, let me help you out with that, you definitely want to accept that help. That's divine order stepping in for you. You know what I'm saying? This ain't about like trying to put on this facade of being the person that's independent, right? This is really about tuning into what's authentic and really knowing those energies that you can call on for support and assistance, because everybody ain't that person, right? Okay, let's just be clear. We ain't gonna play this game, right? Because if we really want to be happy, we got to stop living in bullshitting ass delusions, right? Where we sitting around thinking that we got peoples in our corner, and you do got peoples in your corner, but some of them may not be, and you need to know the difference. So let's keep it moving. Let's talk about let's talk about this self-sufficient energy and knowing about when you're receiving your energy, the energy that you're receiving, the reciprocation, you know what I'm saying? We got to be in this space of appreciation too, right? Because when somebody is really coming through, have you ever, ever been in a situation where you trying to come through for a motherfucker and they just, and it seems like you going out, hold up, let me tell you, you trying to, this has happened to me on several occasions, so I stopped doing that shit, I'm done with this. But you trying to go come through for somebody and really show up for them because you love them, you care about them and everything, but then when you show up for them, you realize that it's not really appreciated at the end of the day. You know how to build some resentment? That's how you do it right there. Word. So listen, I'm telling you, cut that shit out. And it had take me, you know what I'm saying? I'm almost 50 and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here to tell you, it's no good. It's no good. You got to let the appreciation that you have match the gestures, right? You can't even be flattered by the little bare minimum and shit. People do throw some shit your way. Here, I'll do this little hit. You can take that. Take this. You know what I'm saying? I'll show up for this for 2 seconds. We'll do that. You know what I'm saying? Kiss my ass. That's what I say to those people. Now, listen, you ain't got to do it my way. I do shit different. But I'm here to tell you that particular type of energy, man, I promise you, you don't need that shit in your life. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure that you ain't really flattered by the bare minimum. And this is why so many women, so many men, I ain't gonna say just women is sacked. You know what I'm saying? Because I noticed this because I'm a woman and I observe this shit, but men too, I suppose. But this is how you find yourself in these relationships where there's no reciprocation and shit like that. Because you want to fucking be flattered by the bare minimum, right? Stop that shit. You know what I'm saying? Quit settling for less than the best. I promise you, they will raise up if they want to be with you. If they want to have this connection for you, they will rise up to the occasion. I assure you. I assure you. So please do not be flattered by the bare minimum. Look at the gestures that are thoughtful. Don't listen to these fools that's on the internet talking about he took me to Applebee's. There ain't nothing wrong with Applebee's. What the fuck is going on in this world where people think that somebody need to take them to this 5-star restaurant? So what do you plan to give this man for taking you there? Because see, that sound like it's not a get to know type of situation. This is an interview or some shit. I don't know what the hell is going on in these streets. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I only been married for 16 years or whatever. Anyway, Look at these gestures that are thoughtful, not just the expensive shit. What's going on with that? You know what I'm saying? And not these bullshitting, mindless, what's hot in the street, copy and paste type of gifts either. You know what I'm saying? Now, the guy out there, he's selling the rose in the glass bottle on the corner. Now, everybody got one of them shits. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's the best you can do, whatever. But I'm just saying, being thoughtful about some things, it shows that you're really rising up to the occasion, right? Showing that you're listening to somebody and shit like that. And when you put that out, please expect somebody to put that level of thought into you, because this is where your love language is, and it's important. No, not everyone has a love language that's the same, but you will save yourself a whole lot of resentment if you find yourself in relationships that reciprocate the same energy. All right, whatever. All right. So create and express your standards, right? I just want to reiterate that, because respect is the minimal, fam. You got to be sure that they are the same, they hold the same energy as you. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure that this is what I like to call divine exchanges. You know what I'm saying? Be sure that they are the same as you. If you go all out for somebody, they need to go all out for you as well. That's what I'm trying to say to you. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's what fair is. This is fairness, right? No one more one-sided ass bullshit relationships. I need y'all to know it is time to cut that bullshit loose. And it ain't just in romantic relationships, it's platonic relationships, it's work relationships. Who the fuck told these bosses you can just talk to somebody like they're your motherfucking child? Who came up with this bullshit? You know what I'm saying? Miss me with this. I just don't understand. All right, let me keep moving. Let us talk about effort. Like, how much effort should somebody be putting in into these connections, into these relationships, right? Let's talk about that just for a second. I'm not going to spend too much time here. You know what I'm saying? But what level do you need to see to feel that the interest and the investment is real and worth engaging in? How much effort do you require in your relationships, in your friendships? Now, let's think about this for a minute, right? Think about, like, when you want to be approached. When men approach you, do you mind if a dude is catcalling you? You know what I'm saying? Hey, yo, can I get your number? I remember back then, you know what I'm saying? That was the thing, I don't know how that's being done now, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, how do you want to be approached? What about the dates? Now, I know that we got a lot of people who hold this expectation of five-star relationship. All right, well, go on, girl. But what about going out for coffee? Like, just to meet somebody, you want to make sure that you ain't got yourself, because people can be whoever the fuck they want to be on this internet, right? So you meeting a representative, but you can kind of get a feel for that energy if you meet them in person. And a coffee date, is that acceptable? I don't know, because everybody do things different. You know what I'm saying? But would you consider that the bare bones minimum, or is this, you know what I'm saying, is this an acceptable way? What do you consider high efforts? You know what I'm saying? What is a high effort behavior from your friend? Let's ask that shit. Maybe I should have threw that shit in the book, huh? Something similar to that. You'll get around to that type of question. So let's talk about this communication too, because this is one of the things that's really important, especially in being impeccable with your word, like making sure that we good with that, like the communication, honesty, like how much communication do you expect in your relationships, right? See, we find ourselves in these relationships where we are in spaces that make us frustrated, that make us uncomfortable, because we really haven't addressed all of those things. And you would be surprised, but it is definitely a common thing. I used to overlook all of this shit. I just thought, hey, we got a nice little vibe going on. We move forward. We share the laugh, move forward. But see, now as we become adults and everything, there's more requirements on that, right? And so, if we want to be in relationships that are successful moving forward in this next cycle, right, as we begin progressing and moving forward, giving us this opportunity to really be in alignment with our true and authentic self, then we need to know these things. How much communication do you expect, right? What level of honesty and openness do you need? That's something to think about right there, right? What do you think about, like, if somebody decide they don't want to tell you, they just leaving out information? Is that cool with you? You know, or even if you're in these relationships, you could save yourself some aggravation by figuring out, do you expect to hear from the person that you're dealing with on a daily basis? Now, I know that some people is busy, they got shit that's going on and everything, but not everyone is seeing it this way. They feel like, if you caring about me, you should at least be checking in and everything, and that's valid. You get to feel like that. Don't let nobody tell you you wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? Is texting equal to phone calls? You know that? You know what I'm saying? How forthcoming are you at the end of the day? You know, you got to check in with yourself, because you can't be holding all this space for what you want and not really thinking about how you finna show up at the end of the day, right? So we need to talk about that, right? How do your partner, do your friends need to be? Like, how forthcoming? Do you need to have all of the facts? You know what I'm saying? All of the information there in the table and all of that, you know? Or do you think that if you feel like you need to know something, or you know what I'm saying, is you know what I'm saying, and you didn't get all of the facts, let's say in a situation where you felt like you should know something, or you know what I'm saying, I'm thinking about let's say if you're in a situation where somebody you don't like is showing up at a party and you there with all of your friends, and they knew that the people that you didn't like was going to be there and everything, right? But they tell you, oh, it never came up. Well, you know, I wasn't even thinking about that, I wasn't even on that, or something like that. And they knew that it was a problem, especially like if you got a restraining order or some shit like that on them or something like that. Like, that's pertinent information. You know what I'm saying? How acceptable is it never came up, or you never asked? I guess we can say depending on the gravity of the situation, but see, everybody's different, right? So you just never know. Or if you got an ex that's going to be at a party and you didn't want to be crossing paths with that particular individual, it never came up. Or your partner has their ex at the party and you didn't know that, and you feel like you kind of left out of all of the information, and so now you the odd person out. And well, you never asked if they were coming, it never came up in our conversation, you know? So, you know, just how acceptable is that? See, we got to figure this shit out, you know, so that we don't keep doing relationships with these misunderstandings over and over and over again. We got different takes on traditions and everything. We need to think about that type of stuff. Because see, one of the things we thinking is because we got, now shared values are definitely a thing to rock with, right? They're going to help you to avoid a lot of disappointments. But you also got to remember, your values can be more than just what your hobbies and your spiritual practice and how you go about doing things. See, I'm into this whole astrology and numerology. I'm the astronumerative intuitive, right? My husband is so not impressed with that. You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't matter to him, but our values are the same. The values are the same. And the values, when you share those, they're going to help you in avoiding disappointment. Do you want a man that feels that it's his job to provide for you financially? Of course, we all do. Shit, I will definitely sit back and let somebody definitely take that. But you also got to know that there's a tax with that, right? So you on board with the traditional feminine roles and the duties, right? Like, you got to be responsible for all the housework. You can't be the person that's at home all day and there ain't no food and there ain't no laundry done and the house is damn ass mess, and everything's in disarray, and you just sitting there controlling the television. Not a good move. Not a good move. But I'm just saying, maybe it is. I'm just saying. For me, It damn sure ain't a good move. But you get to live the way you want to. I'm just telling you what don't work for me. But you got to sit with that. And this is why it's important to be in tune with your values, right? Can you maintain a friendship with somebody that don't have these traditions, right? Can you really be in a relationship with somebody? Like, you got to remember what those values are. That's important at the end of the day. Like, is having a roof over your head, taking care of your family, is that your most important? Or is collecting crystals and reading cards most important to you? Like, you know what I'm saying? We got to figure out like what's most important. Or is doing that internal spiritual work? Because see, even when people don't really rock with what it is that you're doing, they'll see how it's working for you by how you show up. And if you showing up out there all triggered, all pissed off, all fake, all inauthentic, all slimy and grimy, you talking behind people's back, you don't have no compassion, no love for nobody at the end of the day, well, then you really, really, really need to consider how this practice is helping you if there's no inner growth. I'm just saying. That's how I see it. You know, you can definitely free yourself and turn this. Now, about the ambition. See, this is one of the things that I have noticed, especially with a lot of us that's in these spiritual communities and we want to connect with somebody that's doing that spiritual thing. But if ambition is one of your values, then you got to really think about some things, right? How important is your ambition and discipline in another person? Do you want to be surrounded by people that are okay as long as their basic needs are met? Because you got to remember, like, your circle, it matters, right? So, but if you hanging around a bunch of folks that want to sit on the corner and sip 40s and talk about yesterday, it's cool, because I've done that shit, and sometimes it's a very nice time, to sit back, reminisce, and have a few. You know what I'm saying? However, if you want to be surrounded by folks as long as their basic needs is met, you got to really sit with that and think with that. Can you rise above that? Or are you going to try and keep up with the folks that's, where you want to be at? Okay. You know, this is, what I'm saying? Now, listen, I'm going to tell you something. You ain't got to take my word for it, because there's a lot of work behind all of this, right? About making sure that you evaluate the circles that you're spending all of your time with. And if you're spending your time around folks that's really not making any plans, more than likely trying to keep up with them, or people that are not on the same frequency as you will find yourself going along for a ride that you don't want to be on. That's what ends up happening when you do this. And so this is why we're talking about this, because it seems almost as if there's a deficiency out here in these streets with people in making the proper connections, myself included, right? Making the proper connections on how we align with folks that are true and authentic to who we are. Let's keep it talking. Let's keep it moving, right? So this is really in this space about this whole ambition and how you want to be surrounded by folks that's just got basic needs, man. Or do you want to be around all of the luxuries, all of the goodness that life has to offer you, right? Are you interested in being with somebody that's easily content and satisfied? Because listen, you need to know, at the very end of the day, there's more going on than material success out here, right? That's not your only way to be successful. So don't let nobody get up here and tell you that you got to be out here on this hustle grind culture, right? Killing yourself. So by the time you 60, you don't even get to see none of the work you put in, because you in the grave pushing up daisies, right? We ain't talking about them people, right? I'm talking about the folks that really are looking for higher ambitions, right? Higher ambitions. What this is all about is about having peace, being content with the things that you have, that attitude of gratitude, right? We ain't running around triggered every time somebody say something we don't like. We ain't in this space where we hating on folks because they living good and we ain't. You know what I'm saying? That whole energy and everything, right? This is what helps to pull you up out of that. All right. Uh, all right, all right, all right. See, now I done lost my train of thought. Where's my list at? Here we go. Okay. So let's talk about that. So we really want to make sure that we're paying attention to the type of connections that we have, because more often than not, what I've also witnessed too in relationships within itself is that we're not always on the same page. We're not always on the same page. And so if you are interested in somebody that's easily contented, that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Peace of mind is priceless. You need to know that. Or are you somebody that's always trying to strive for everything that comes out? See, we got to check ourselves where we at in this game too, right? Because if you just stuck around a bunch of folks that's just dead set on pleasing people, you know what I'm saying? Then maybe you got to check in on where your values are at. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? We need to recognize that the time and space, how we do that. How do you want to manage that time and space that you sharing with other folks? You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that, right? Like the time and the space that we require. How much quality time are we requiring if we're going to be in a healthy relationship of friendship? Do you think that you need to check in at some point or the other with your friends? You know what I'm saying? Is that a good thing? you know One of the things that we tend to learn in life is that that's kind of a dance, right? And we don't check in with that because no one gives us a lesson on how to be a friend, on how to connect with people, you know? And so these are things that we really need to re-examine. How much of the time and space do you require? How much quality time do you require in any of your relationships, platonic, regular, or romantic relationships? What about surprises? You know what I'm saying? Last minute plans. See, I remember back in the day before we had the cell phones, one you could expect somebody just popping in and dropping through once in a while. Now the pop in and the drop through visit is probably all but obsolete at this point in time, unless somebody has some type of agenda, right? But at the time, there used to be a time where you could pop in on folks and you'd be all put back and upset about that because they didn't call you ahead of time or make an arrangement and let you know and everything. But you know what I'm saying? There's just a way of checking in and going about that. There's been times, like me, I'm the type of person, like it's a phone call. Like I'm not coming to your house. What the hell? You know what I'm saying? However, I'll make a phone call to people. Oh, you could have texted. You could have did this and that. Oh, okay. Well, not a problem. But what I did realize is that these ain't my people because I ain't got time for that dumbass bullshit. If I got to fucking make a check-in text in order to speak to a friend of mine, then you're definitely not one of my friends. So you can go to hell. So to the left, to the left. All right. But we got to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. And I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I'm just in a space right now. But for real, if this is something that really kind of peeves you and gets up under your skin, it's okay. It really is. And you got to make sure that you're communicating this with the people that you're connected to, or you don't like the people that you connected to and you don't want them calling you and shit. And that's a whole nother other. And this is why I'm having this conversation for real. For real, for real. But we need to recognize like all of those little things, you know what I'm saying? The grand gestures, you know what I'm saying? Do you require those? You know what I'm saying? Or do you need that to happen for you like all the time, or is it a special occasion thing? You know what I'm saying? And what does that look like? You know what I'm saying? Do you want, you know what I'm saying, rose petals all over the bed and in a trail that leads to a bubble bath and shit like that? You know what I'm saying? Balloons all around, candle lights. I mean, what does that look like for you? You know what I'm saying? And think about like your parties and shit like that, anniversaries and shit like that, or promotions. Do you want a big to do being thrown for you? Is that something that you want in your life? Because these are things, because people can't read your mind, fam. And they don't know that this is something that would really make your heart sing. This would elevate you. This would help you to feel loved, to feel secured and everything. Because this might not be, see, for me, I don't want no goddamn party and all of this. You know what I'm saying? All of this business that's going on and everything. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? However, if it's done, I'll still appreciate it, show some love, have some laughs, you know what I'm saying, and do my thing. However, I don't want that. I don't need that. However, if some folks do and they need that, and this is what makes them feel loved, and this is what helps them to feel supported out here in this world, is to be celebrated and recognized. And that is absolutely okay. Absolutely. And so we also need to recognize like our styles of communication, that direct versus indirect contact, right? I'm an in your face, straight shooting type of person. But I have been told that that's not the best strategy. As a matter of fact, there's some studies out there, whatever, that say that may not be the best method. But what I do know for sure is about how folks' emotions is and how we are such emotional beings, and emotions are not logical. And the studies have shown that people are often more moved by their emotions, more than logic, more than common sense, you know? So definitely making sure that you appeal to how they feel, this is going to be a real major key alert moving forward when we communicating with folks out here in these streets, right? When we're working on compassion, is making sure we check in on the emotional state of the others that are around us. Absolutely. So what I wanted to say at the very end of the day, that you got to remember, love, that your standards are for you. And you can't be running around. I mean, you can. I mean, it's whatever. It's your life. But I really highly recommend that you don't shame people or impose folks, you know what I'm saying, and allow them to put their standards and how they feeling about shit on you. It ain't about it being your way or the highway. This is about you being firm in your boundaries. This is a Saturn and Pisces moment, a Saturn and Neptune moment. Saturn is all about the discipline, the things that we need to do consistently, right? And it being in Pisces and Pisces being about them boundaries and everything, this is really tapping in and tuning in, because Neptune is all about those things, you know what I'm saying, that inspire us. You know what I'm saying? How we've been going about doing things, how we've been moving, like what moves us out here in these streets. And it being in Pisces, right? Us recognizing what's real within ourselves, those hidden parts within ourselves. Saturn and Pisces being retrograde is really assisting us in helping us in creating these firm boundaries so that we can remain steadfast, so that we can stand on business, so that we can be ourselves and do ourselves. Because at the end of the day, it is for ourselves. And if people think that's too much, you know what? You get to be a lot if that's what it is. If that's what feels right for you. Because I know I can be a lot sometimes. And if I'm told that I'm a lot, then I let them know they can feel free to go and find less. Whatever. Auspiciousness, baby. Set the tone, set the standard, and set it off. Yeah. So that's all I'm gonna have to say. Hold up. Let me put my little exit music back on. Hold up. Let me where my music joint at? Hold up. Let me see. Do I got the right particular let's see. No, that wasn't it. No, it didn't work out. Oh well. But anyway, so I was going to have some go out music. I really like that jam, that melody right there. But I think that I'll get a copyright uh infringement thing or whatever, I'll get smacked with copyright law and all that bullshit. I will play that whole song. It's such a beautiful song. I don't even know who in the hell made it. I had a cousin who made me a mixed CD at one point or the other, and that was one of the groovy tunes that was on there. So yeah. Yeah, there it go. There it go. There it go. Hold up. Ah, ah, ah. The goddess segment came through. The goddess Sekhmet came through. She came through with this energy of the wounded healer. This is all about what needs to happen for you to step into your power. What changes need to happen in order for you to be in this harmonious space in your life. The goddess Sekhmet came through, reminding you that you got to heal these wounds. So take advantage of Chiron being in Aries so that you can heal yourself at the end of the day. Yeah, no doubt. I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, back to jamming. Yeah.